So then we're gonna wrap these up. We're just gonna go ahead and go like this. And we just need a little bit peeking out from the speaker. Of course, I'm doing this on a planter. If you were doing this into the ground, you'll be just probably fine just leaving the wire straight out like this and just wrapping it up right here. But since this thick wire, which is the main wire, has to come to the planter, I have to bunch it up like this. Since it's going to be actually, the speaker's going to be above ground and not at ground level for my application. Just keep that in mind while you're watching this video. So we're going to go ahead and just wrap it here. And now the other reason why I want to wrap these up so many times is that I live in Florida. And in Florida, not only do you have to worry about water, but you also have to worry about the sun. Believe it or not, the sun destroys everything in South Florida. Everything. Everything that can't fade will. Anything that doesn't have anti-UV protection will get damaged, including cables. Now this is designed for in-ground, but since some of this wire is going to be above ground, exposed to a lot of sun, I want to go ahead and just wrap this up. Now this is all wrapped up just with the harness tape. Like I said, this is just for a little bit of protection. The last protection, at least for my application, might not be for you, is this split loom. Now this is not the cheap stuff that you see in some installation in cars, which is plastic. This is actually fabric. I've been using this a lot because it allows you to install this while the cable is run. You don't have to worry about cutting the wire and feeding it through here. This thing has been awesome. Has been a game changer for me. I've used this in a lot of areas where I want to protect wiring, especially in a backyard entertainment situation. Like, let's say you want to run an HDMI cable and it's going to be out in the sun. I've done that. I've run an HDMI cable to my backyard, wrapped it in this, and it protects it perfectly. Real good. So the way this works is that you open it up and you stuff it in like this. Now the hardest part is just getting it to wrap around. And you wrap it around like this. And you're gonna do that throughout the whole wire, at least what's above ground. Okay, so here I am at the sub, and this is coming from the speaker we just did, which is a right speaker. And here's the in to a Y. So here's the out to the sub and out to the next speaker, which is going to be a left. We have the last speaker on the string. Now, if you started with a right speaker, the last one should be the left, and this is the left. Now, I've attached the speaker leads here to the butt connectors. I already put my heat gun on it and it shrunk, nicely sealed there. Now, you are going to have the right side left. So what I do is I went ahead and heat shrunk this side. And I use the red ones because all this is going to do is going to just waterproof so no water gets inside the cable, the bare wire. So what I like to do is I like to just put a little bit of silicone, of hot glue in there. All I'm trying to do right now is just put a little bit in there, and I'm going to heat shrink it. Of course, some of it's going to come out, but that's okay. We're going to start heat shrinking this. And what we're trying to do is just make sure that no water goes in there. There you go. That's all covered up. It's not, no water's going to go in there. It's sealed from this side. It's also sealed from this side. So we're good to go. Okay, we're here in the garage, and here are the two amplifiers. Now you're going to notice I stacked them, and this is perfectly fine. And what happens is that the way Sonos designed it is that the heat from the bottom transferred to the amp on top, and the heat keeps radiating, and it escapes this circle here that has a vent. So you can notice vent on the bottom and on top. So if you read the manual, it's perfectly fine to mount it like this. And I like it because all you really need to mount it is just a shelf, and you're good to go. No special brackets unless you want to, but this is perfectly fine. Now, if you notice, I labeled everything. This is very important. If you don't label everything, what you're going to notice is that when you go ahead and pump up the bass, it's not going to have any bass. Either the sub is not going to sound loud, or even the smaller speakers are not going to sound loud. And the reason why is because you probably crossed one of the cables over. So what I did is, before I got started, I wired everything up, and then I turned everything on, and I made sure the polarity was correct on all the speakers. And the way you do this is that you connect a speaker, or two speakers actually is the best, left and right, and then you move the balance from the left to the middle to the right. When you're moving it to the middle, it should sound twice as loud with twice as much bass. This is including the little speaker. So you want a song that has a lot of bass. And now with the sub, it's the same way. With the sub, it's a dual channel sub. So when you move the sub to the left, it should sound half as loud. When you move it to the center, midpoint, it should sound twice as loud. And then vice versa, when you go to the left, it should sound twice as loud, half as loud. If you notice that when you move the balance on either the smaller speakers or the sub, and you notice that it sounds really low, the bass, or there is no bass, then you have one of the cables wired wrong. The polarity is incorrect. It's important that you fix this, because once you bury this wire and you do the work of connecting everything and soldering or using butt connectors like I did, heat shrinking, you're gonna have to take everything apart to figure what's causing it. Now, the way that the forums and online community has said to deal with this, including Sonance, is to get one of these and flip it. And that's perfect. It may fix the problem with the subwoofer, but that does not mean that your other smaller speakers are going to sound just as good as the sub. Now with the sub, it's really noticeable. But with the smaller speakers, you will not be able to determine if the wires is crossed. So always very important, wire this outside all together in your house, all the speakers, and go from left to right. Every time you hook up a speaker, go from left to right. Every time you hook up a pair of speakers, go left channel and right channel. Hook up another pair, right channel and left channel. And then make sure when you go to the center point, it sounds just as good as when you go to the left and the right. Always with bass, not lacking bass. Same thing with the subs. Now, the connections you have on this are the HDMI on both sides. Now this is where, if you want to hook up a source like I did in my pool TV, I wired it to this HDMI in. So it's getting whatever the TV puts out, and it's an arc signal. So whatever input on the TV is going to send it here, and it's going to incorporate that in a Sonos app. Now I have a free open one here. So in the future, if I ever have another source, maybe another TV, or maybe even my computer, that I want to output a signal, I could always wire it in here with an HDMI cable. Now, also, I hardwired these to the network. I have a switch right here on the bottom, and I wired these in. And that's going to give you the most stable and reliable connection. If you use a Wi-Fi signal and you have it outside your amplifier, and you're going to notice that if your Wi-Fi is not up to task, especially where the amp is, it's going to drop a signal. And this was happening to me when I had one of the amplifiers way out there by the pool, just to test it, to see if it would work. And it was just easier for me just to run a network cable. And now you see here, everything is labeled. You're gonna see black, red, green, white. Now on top, there's red dot right here and a red dot right here. Now the right channel, normally when you connect stereos, is black and red. And then when it's a second channel, it's usually green is usually the negative side and white is usually the positive side. Now, you don't have to do it this way, but I recommend you do so you can keep everything consistent and you don't make mistakes. If you decide to wire, make the green positive and the white negative, it's not common. Normally green, think about it as a ground wire on your home wiring. Normally green is a ground, just like black is a ground. So that's why the two are left are these. So I suggest just keep this color pattern. It really doesn't matter as long as you wire your house all the same. But if you just do it like this, it'll be more uniform if anybody else goes and takes a look at it. Now you do have a sub out here. And that's if you have an extra sub connected to it. And you also have inputs here, RCA inputs. And the other thing that's good about this, that if you plug in a network cable here, it has another network cable where you can wire it to, let's say, a computer. So if you have a computer nearby or some other network device and you don't have another run, you can always plug it in here and out through here. So this is almost like a hub. And that's basically it for the wiring of the Sonance 6.1 system. And I'm going to be doing another video just to walk through how I ran the cables and also on how it sounds, so you can see. I have been using it. Today's the 31st. Tomorrow's gonna be New Year's, and I'm gonna gauge to see how everybody reacts to it because no one has really heard the system from my friends and family. Thank you so much for watching and have a good day.